Hello everyone, welcome to Filthy Clean Vegan. Today I'm going to share with you one of my family's specialities, one of my favourite all-time treats, and something that holds a really strong and warm place in my heart. I've had some great times eating this dish and it brings the family together, and it really is a great recipe. Honestly, this works well if you want a treat for yourself, if you want to give the kids a quick snack, if you're putting it on the side of a meal, if you've got family coming together and you want to put something with your wine. Honestly, whatever you want it for, it's great, and the recipe is quick. The only thing that takes some time is letting the bread rise. Here we're just putting all the yeast together. You want lukewarm water, active yeast and a bit of oil. Then you're going to stir it and leave it for 10 minutes. The yeast should be slightly foamy, slightly frothy on the top. If not, then it's probably dead and you'll need to try again. It's not going to be crazy, it's not going to be bubbling out like some mad scientist potion, but it will show some noticeable signs that it is growing. So once you've left that for 10 minutes, you're going to start working on the flour. I like to use strong bread flour just because it has a lot of proteins in it and it helps the bread really stick together. We put in a bit of salt in as well. I said a pinch in, I probably didn't add enough in. My problem with bread, and something I'm working on, is adding in enough salt. You've got to remember that you're cooking about 8 portions worth of food, so bear that in mind when you're adding the salt in. I've made this recipe in a bread maker, however you can knead it by hand. If you're doing it in a bread maker, what you want to do is just stir this mixture all together until it forms some kind of a mould, and then put it in the maker. If you're kneading it by hand, you want to get it all together and all combined in the bowl before turning it out onto a flour lined base and kneading it for about 10 minutes. If you're doing it in a bread maker, it probably only needs about 1 minute just to combine. Be careful not to over knead it. If you're having any problems when it comes to kneading the bread, you can shoot me a message. It's quite hard for me to diagnose it on this video. Sometimes your bread might be a bit too wet, sometimes it might be a bit too stiff. If it's a bit too wet, give it time. Most problems with bread will be solved if you keep kneading it. Just make sure if you're doing it by hand, you've given it 10 minutes. But bread is very temperamental, and things such as the humidity in the air can completely change it. So it's all about trial and error. It's all about trying to Google your problems, and eventually you'll find a method for bread that works. It can always go wrong, but that's bread. It's exciting. It's a living organism at the end of the day, and when you watch it rise, it astonishes me every time. What I did here when I took it out of the bread maker is I chopped it up into 4 and put them all into little balls. I covered the balls in oil so that they're nice and lubricated up when I let them rise. We're going to let these balls rise for about 2 minutes before frying them. 2 minutes? 2 hours before frying them, Jesus. And after 2 hours, they will look like this. They will have risen massively and they will be ready to go. Each ball, take it like this, roll it around and put it into some kind of oblong shape. You want it to be about 3 inches thick. If you do it too thin, it's going to be really crispy, and if you do it too thick, it's going to be quite doughy on the inside and undercooked. Remember, you are just frying these on either side, so you don't want it to be too thick because you are going to have problems cooking it and you might end up burning. But if you stick to what I've done, you should be perfectly fine. Cover the pan with plenty of oil and fry until brown on both sides. You'll see when I flip this about how brown it needs to be. It's probably about 2 minutes each side, and then you're done. You can cut into it and look in the middle and see if it's cooked all the way through. Once ready, get a plate lined with some kitchen towel and chuck the bread pieces onto the kitchen towel just to soak up the rest of the oil before serving. As you can see here, I just had to cut into it to make sure it was cooked. This dish works great with cheese, so make sure to add some vegan cheese at the end, sprinkle it on. It adds a nice saltiness that contrasts the pizza dough. It's incredible, lovely, crispy, heartening, and the perfect treat. Thank you for watching.